countries, and they agree at a senior diplomatic level that countries will become involved in RIAT. Letters then go out to specific air arms, and based on that high level of engagement, then aircraft start to sign up to come to events every year. The team, the new Deputy Director there, having taken over from Rob Winger, who retired just before Christmas, and during that sort of hiatus where they were between Deputy Directors, it was all helped together by Caroline Rose, who's done a fantastic job sorting out the aircraft as well. Ultimately, once all the foreign handed over to the flying display director, who worked with and choreographed what today will prove to be a fantastic flying display. So it's a year-round process, very involved by a permanent staff of superb people. We heard Chris mention the display director now. He's the guy who decides what order you'll see which aircraft is, and his name is Jeff Brendan. What do you look at when you're putting together the display program for the Royal International Air Force? Well, essentially, it's still all the time available with airborne action, but of course that has to honour the theme of the show. So for this year, for instance, airlift, the big airplanes have to have pride of place, and also teamwork. We've got lots of teams here, so with having a lot of aerobatic teams, one can't put them back to back, otherwise the sky will be full of teams for half a day and then none at all at the end. So one has to space them out, interspersed with the fast jets and then the light airplanes. So one tries to choreograph it in ways that make the pattern flow, keep the action going, keep it exciting but safe, and yet let everybody show their airplane off and their skills to their best ability. How hard is it to keep everyone happy? Very. And being a pilot, I know exactly why. But of course, each man believes he and his machine are the prime source of potential, and one has to try and honour that feeling. He is doing his level best to entertain the crowd and also put his aeroplane through his spaces. And so with some interest and often some debate in terms of who the team started the show or the end of the show would be the best or the worst place to be. And of course, this year, based on the number of teams that to put them all in each opportunity those nacelles just tilting forward now to 80 degrees for the takeoff to begin the display routine. The co-pilot is Captain Ed Afma, Crew Chief Lance Corporal Nelson, and the observer Sergeant Lopez. As before, this is a tilt rotor aircraft, which means it can take off and land like a helicopter, but once airborne, those nacelles can be rotated to convert the aircraft to a turboprop aeroplane capable of high speed and high altitude flight. It can carry some 24 combat troops or up to 20,000 pounds of internal or indeed external cargo loads. And
And that's what we've seen happen there. The engines on the Osprey being a pair of Rolls-Royce Allison A1107C turboshafts. We're now in aircraft mode, and this is the opening high-speed pass by the MV-22B. The technology that we see here on the Osprey was first demonstrated on an aircraft called the Bell XV-15. It was a technology demonstrator first flown way back in 1977, and the big advance was that the engines, unlike on previous attempts at tilt-rotor machines, were contained in wingtip mounted pods that were able to swivel in order to transition between vertical and horizontal flight. And the sort of speed advantages over conventional helicopters that this allowed attracted the interest of the US military. It put together a requirement. The combination of Bell and Boeing put forward the sole proposal for what was in effect an enlarged and revised version of the XV-15. It became known as the V-22 Osprey in early 1985. Gestation was to some extent a little protracted. The aircraft was eventually rolled out in May 1988, and it first flew in March 1989. But it took around a decade for the Osprey to enter service, initially with the US Marine Corps.
Seating bay sails have been rotated, the gear is down, the aircraft has transitioned into the landing configuration.
And the crew will now be decelerating to a hover at just 50 feet at the centre point of the display line.
Built by Boeing themselves. Their partner Bell Helicopter Technical are responsible for the wing transitions, the empennage, the wing systems and the engine installation.
Full rate production of the Osprey was approved in September 2005. And the type has seen a lot of operational service since then with the Marine Corps. The first combat deployment was to Iraq in September 2007. During their time there, they were used to transport President Obama on one occasion. There's the nacelles going again to 80 degrees.
Rotors rotate opposite directions which produce lift, and because they turn in opposite directions, there's no need for a tail rotor to provide stability as you'd find in a conventional helicopter.
Of course, the advantages of this aircraft are that it can fly faster and higher than a conventional helicopter, but is able, as we've seen, to manoeuvre in much tighter spaces than a fixed-wing tactical transport. And these attributes have come in very handy in Afghanistan. It was VMM-261, the US Marine Corps unit that in November 2009 carried out the type's first deployment to that theatre. A month later came the inaugural combat mission when Ospreys inserted Marines and troops into a hostile zone in Helmand province. MV-22Bs have carried out earthquake relief missions in Haiti in 2010, and last year they were active in Operation Odyssey Dawn in Libya. Indeed, MV-22Bs carried out a rescue of a downed US Air Force F-15E Strike Eagle crew member.
The conversion, by the way, from aeroplane to helicopter mode can take place in as few as 12 seconds.
It has been a type we could soon be seeing much more in UK skies, not least in the skies of East Anglia.
Yes, because it's scheduled that at least under current plans, that the 352nd Special Operations Group of the US Air Force at RAF Milton Hall will take on a squadron of CD-22B Ospreys, possibly later this year, early next, I can't quite remember. We're going to see a rolling landing now by this MV-22B of the US Marine Corps.